Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Embracing the Mental Wellbeing Renaissance. I'm Marianne Murphy, Vice President here at the Medical Fitness Association. I'd like to take a brief moment to introduce today's presenter. Jessica Maurer is a project manager for the Mental Wellbeing Association, where she combines her fitness, education, and wellness expertise to create impactful initiatives. In this role, Jessica oversees developing and implementing programs that empower fitness professionals to integrate mental wellness into their services. She was pivotal in designing the Mental Wellbeing Association certification for fitness professionals, providing tools and strategies to support mental health through movement and community engagement. Now, if you have any questions as we move through today's webinar, go ahead and type them in the chat or in the Q&A panel of your toolbar, and we'll answer all your questions in the end in the order they were received. So, okay, Jessica, take it away.
You got it. Thank you so much, Marianne. And hi, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this impactful and quite prolific conversation about embracing the mental well-being renaissance. As we mentioned to you prior, hi, everyone. I'm Jessica H. Maurer. I am the Education Director and the Project Manager at the Mental Wellbeing Association. And I can't wait to tell you more about what we do and what our certification does. But before we jump down that rabbit hole, do you mind going on a little bit of a journey with me? I'm going to be asking for feedback along the way. I'd love for you to take it into chat, pop in some emojis or some text as we go along, just to make sure that you're paying attention and you're with me. This little bit of a journey is going to eventually lead us back to talking about mental wellness, I promise. But just sit tight and join me here. All right, guys, how many of you feel anxious, depressed, burnout? Maybe in the last few years, you've bounced between all of those feelings. Maybe you're right now dealing with some feelings of feeling overwhelmed or perhaps even bored. But the great thing about our fitness professionals is that we understand the connection between movement and joy, of getting ourselves out of that momentary feeling of sadness into a feeling of joyfulness. But while we as fitness professionals know and understand this, the consumers are starting to catch up with that mentality. And we have to face some facts here. We as the fitness industry, we have a reputation problem. Now, these next few slides that I'm going to show you are all graphics that were not AI generated, but were created for the purpose of use in the software program Canva. Canva is a graphic artist area where you can create flyers, business cards, and slide decks. And when I typed in fitness trainer, these were the images that appeared. Again, I want to say, not AI generated. This is number one. So again, when you go into a platform that everyone's using to create flyers and business cards and social media graphics, and you type in fitness trainer, this comes up. What about this one? What about this one? Here's the last one. I would argue that none of us really want to be portrayed this way. None of what we do in the fitness industry looks like any of these photos. However, this is what consumers think of us, that our industry is full of guilt and shame and punishment, and that you go to the gym when you've done something wrong. We want to start seeing a change in this. And we're starting to see it trickle in, especially with some of the younger generations. We really need to be at the forefront of this conversation. We're starting to see that the fitness industry is going through a fundamental shift. No longer are clients coming to us solely focused on numbers. The fitness industry of the past used to be focused on calorie burning, scales, and measurements. The fitness industry of the future is instead focused on immediate gratification. It's not about the 5 pounds you're going to lose in 5 weeks. It's about how you're going to feel better right now. I can promise you that after this walk, after this Pilates class, after this strength training session, after this TRX class, that you are going to feel better than when you walked in the door. Instead of making promises about losing inches or losing pounds in the far distant future, we're going to start flipping that script and really instead focusing on the joy that movement can bring, the benefit to someone's mental well-being. And what's amazing is that the clients are ready for this transformation. In fact, 78% of people who are working out on a regular basis claim that they're doing it for their emotional and mental wellness and not for aesthetic purposes. They're already working out because they know it makes them feel better. We just need to give them the words to articulate that. And we as the industry need to use our own words to articulate that. It's about the joy of moving our body. It is not about the punishment for what we've done in the past. And again, as I mentioned, the consumers are ready for this. So with 78% of the people who are coming into gym facilities doing so for their own mental health and their mental well-being. But that brings us to the question of, what is mental wellness? What is mental health? Are you asking us to become therapists? Do we need to go back to school? Do we need another big certification? How can we best support mental wellness and mental health? Well, in order to talk about this, we have to start with the Global Wellness Institute. The Global Wellness Institute has created a model called the dual continuum. And the dual continuum shows the relationship between diagnosable mental health disorders and mental wellness. So again, mental health refers to diagnosable mental health disorders, whereas mental wellness is what everyone has. And the dual continuum looks like this, with the horizontal really representing mental health. Keep in mind that someone with a mental health diagnosis doesn't mean that they're always highly symptomatic. Perhaps they have figured out their treatment and their way of moving forward with their life, and they're actually low symptomatic. Or perhaps they're not diagnosed with a mental health disorder, but they have high symptoms that would lead towards someone believing that they might be. So everyone has a place that they lie on in this horizontal line. But what we're really talking about is the vertical line, moving between flourishing and languishing. And this goes for everyone, whether you're diagnosed or not. Everyone has mental wellness. You can live in a flourishing state of mind, and that means that you're happy, you're joyful, you're content with your choices, with your life that's around you. Whereas languishing is feeling more like you're stuck, you're unfulfilled, you're disconnected. And every day is different. If you have high symptoms or low symptoms, you can be high symptoms but flourishing. You can have high symptoms and be languishing. You can have low symptoms and be flourishing, or low symptoms and be languishing. And when we look at it in terms of this spectrum, we really start to understand why there's not a need for stigma or bias when it comes to this conversation. Because really and truly, we're talking about supporting everyone, no matter where they show up. And there's a lot of research that the Global Wellness Institute did in order to start to put this kind of mentality moving forward. Now, the John W. Brick Foundation is a mental health organization that brings together research from across the world, from everywhere, and looks at it in terms of lifestyle factors in relation to mental health and mental wellness. And they've really established that these that you see on your screen are all the lifestyle factors that can positively impact someone's mental wellness. But what we wanted to do was really isolate 4 pillars that fitness professionals can have the most impact in sharing content about. And that is where the Mental Wellness Association comes into play. We have 4 pillars where we know that a fitness professional can have direct impact on someone's life. That's, of course, exercise, nutrition, mindfulness, and connection. And while you're here with me over the next few minutes, we're going to go through each one of these and really dive in and talk about how we as the fitness industry can support someone's mental wellness in a positive or a negative way with these 4 pillars. And I want to dive in and start by talking about the one we all know and love the most, which of course is movement, is that exercise factor. Because we know, looking at the research of over 10,000 studies, that there is a 98% causation between movement and activity and an increase in mental wellness. So again, the difference between mental health and mental wellness. In fact, the John W. Brick Foundation put out a white paper called the Move Your Mental Health Report, which you can absolutely download from their website, which will show you the connection between different styles of activity and improvement on mental health symptoms and overall mental wellness. Things like moderate Cardio, moderate intensity cardiovascular training, like riding your bike, like going for a run or a walk. Strength training has a ton of different implications of being able to improve someone's confidence level, someone's strength level, which therefore improves their mental wellness. There are studies that link yoga, Tai Chi, and other mindful movement practices into improvements of happiness levels. And of course, we can't forget dance. Dance, not only from a fitness perspective, but a social perspective, a cultural perspective, is shown to drastically increase someone's mental well-being. All of these different types of factors play into bringing more joy into someone's life. But if you'll notice, there isn't one that rules them all. In all of the studies that we looked at, there wasn't this is it. This is the one type of exercise that works for everyone. It was instead all based around personal preference, through experience, through perhaps even talent as well. What we found is that it's not one size fits all. And the more that we as fitness professionals try to prescribe a certain style of exercise, the more we're going to keep pushing people away. It's not about one specific exercise, modality, style, or genre. It is instead about finding something that people want to do and will do. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the psychology of that in just a moment. Before we move on, though, I really want to clarify a few terms that get tossed around quite often. If we look at the pyramid in terms of movement, we have three different segments. You have movement at the bottom, and that is any change in body positioning. Sitting down in your chair to standing up is movement. But then you also have physical activity. And physical activity are things like your daily life chores, doing the laundry, cooking, cleaning, going to the grocery store, perhaps even leisurely commuting to work. And then at the top, you have exercise. Exercise being regimented, repeatable repetitions. That's usually in a dedicated time and space. When we look at the research about improving someone's mental wellness, it comes down to all three of these things being involved. Just simply the body in motion increases someone's level of happiness. As we know, all of these things, movement, physical activity, and exercise, increases the amount of feel-good hormones that we know we have in our body, like dopamine and serotonin. And so it's not necessarily only about exercise. It's about moving more throughout the day. It's about walking more, standing up more, just moving in general, not necessarily just sets and reps. It's really much more complex than that, but at the same time, far more simple, because it really is just about encouraging more movement throughout the day, more steps, more dance parties, more getting the wiggles out. If we think about our adult clients as how we would train an overactive toddler, that's exactly more of what we need in the fitness industry. So when it comes to exercise, there is an incredible dual model theory. And the dual model theory means that there are actually two things happening when someone exercises that directly affect their mood during and after exercise. Number one is how they think about exercise. Not how they're thinking about it in the moment, but how they think about exercise in general. If they think exercise is punishment because they've done something wrong, if they think of exercise as fun, if they had a bad experience with a trainer, if they've had a good experience with a trainer, how they're actually thinking, the cognitive factors, and we'll talk about that just in a moment. The other one is the interoceptive factors. This is how the body actually feels. And what's so cool about the dual mode theory is that two people can have the exact same fitness plan and experience it completely differently. Here's a great example. I personally love to roller skate. That is my form of happy joy movement. I go out in my neighborhood with my quads on and I skate. I love the feeling of gliding, of being free, of feeling the wind on me, of feeling almost like I'm dancing as I'm gliding along. And I have a great mental association with it because I know that I can do it since I have so much practice and years roller skating, and I have great memories of my childhood doing it. But I convinced my neighbor down the street to come roller skating with me, and she hated every single moment of it. We were doing the exact same activity. But whereas I loved the gliding, she felt out of control. While I loved the wind blowing through my hair, she was worried about how fast she was going. Because I had experience in doing it and she had none, it was a little sketchy at times. It's the same exercise, but we're having two completely different reactions to it. She's never laced up her skates since. But I have learned that next time I introduce someone to it, I probably will introduce it in a space where they feel a little safer. The dual mode theory really plays into the cognitive factors of our thoughts and our feelings about exercise. Have we been told our whole life that we exercise because we ate some of our children's Halloween candy? Are we told that we only exercise because we know we have a big event coming up and we want to look a certain way or fit into a certain size clothes? Or instead, is fitness looked at as fun, as recess, as a time to come together with your friends to get better at a sport? Depending on how we think about exercise will depend on how we exercise. And let's face it, some of us are risk adverse. Some of us don't take any risks at all. We eat the same breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day. We wear the same clothes. We don't like to go out of our bubble. And if that is true, then we really don't like it when our body feels out of control. We don't like it when we have to go breathless or we feel sweaty or we can't control the movement that we're doing. And these are all ways that we are reacting to how the body feels during exercise. And if we're risk adverse, we probably do not enjoy those feelings. Whereas people who love to take risks do show that they much rather enjoy exercise where they feel a little out of control, a little breathless, a little more of that adrenaline. This is all just to come back to remember that the pleasure principle plays into effect when it comes to exercise. We as humans are going to gravitate towards the things that we know, like, and trust. And we're going to move away from risk for the most part. We're going to gravitate and we're going to keep doing things that we enjoy. So as a fitness professional, if we continue to prescribe movement that this person does not enjoy, they're not going to stick with it. This is why we see them drop off at the 6-week mark. You can do anything for 6 weeks, but at 6 weeks, you're like, no, I'm done. This isn't fun. I don't enjoy this. I'm not having a good time. I'm moving away from it. And the pleasure principle isn't just simply based on one thing. The pleasure principle actually has 3 different factors that can play in. Your preference is obvious. It's what you like to do. If you grew up being a dancer, you probably have a preference towards dance. You like rhythmic moving. You like music. If your preference is that you love to cycle, then that's going to be your preference. You're going to love to cycle. Your experiences play in. Has a client had a bad experience at a gym facility? I'll give you another great example. This was before I had a child, before I was a mother. I walked into a gym facility and the person gave me a tour and introduced me to a personal trainer. And the personal trainer turned to me and said, "You will have that baby weight off in no time." Did I ever go back? In fact, when I am in a town that has this specific gym chain in it, I still kind of cringe. And it's been 17 years since this happened. My experience directly it relates back to my pleasure principle. I'm never going to step foot in that gym chain again, even though it was just due to one experience. Then we also have to play into a fact of the influences. If your sister says this is amazing, you're more likely to try it than if a billboard says this is amazing. You're more likely to trust human connection than you are something that's on the screen, something that seems less human. If someone comes to you and says, "This was the worst gym experience I've ever had," guess what? You are never going to go to that gym because you've been influenced to believe a certain way. So if someone came to you and said, "That butts and guts class was the worst thing I've ever done, I'm never going to do it," you'll never go to that butts and guts class. But if they came to you and said, "That was the best cycling class I've ever taken," you would go to that cycling class and you would be open to it actually being the best experience ever. You've already been influenced to knowing your pleasure principle that way. So how can we use all of this information to really increase the retention and the lead generation to get more people in our gym and stay in our gym? We've got 4 tips for you. Number 1, you've got to make sure you personalize the experience. And the only way to do that is to ask questions. You have to be able to have conversations with your clients. What did you love to do growing up? Have you been doing exercise recently? Was there any type of exercise that you did that you really loved, you really enjoyed? Instead of coming at it as a prescription idea of, oh no, it is 10 minutes of cardio, it's 30 minutes of strength training, and it's 10 minutes of mobility. What if that is not their style? We need to look at each individual as being unique and magical and representing of themselves instead of representing what we're putting on them. I like to think of this as the Mary Poppins factor. We know that they need certain amount of medicine. We know that they need strength training, mobility training, cardio training, flexibility training, but we have to be able to put a little bit of sugar on it to help them get the medicine to go down. So how can we sugarcoat what we know they need? It's by giving them things that they want to do. We also need to make all of the small wins visible. That means appreciating every time they show up, every time a milestone has been crossed, every time they've taken 10 classes, 50 classes, 100 classes. We celebrate every small little victory, every win, every time they came into the gym without you being there to tell them to come in. That's a win. We need to emphasize fun over discipline. It's not about making sure it's on the dot every morning at 8 a.m. they're in. It's instead how many laughs, how many smiles, how much joy, how many high fives can we give them during that session? It's emphasizing this is fun. This is where your friends are. We'll get to the friends part in a moment. Because again, people are more likely to stick to something that they enjoy. If they're not enjoying the fitness part of things, of your programming, I'm not going to keep coming back. And we've got to make sure we foster that social support. Oftentimes we're worried in a fitness setting about someone talking too much, whether it's in your cycling class and your back row are all acting like they're at brunch, or it's in your personal training session where you feel like you can't get anything done because this person is talking. Guess what? Fitness is meant to be social. It's meant to be social. And if we can really foster that social support system for our clientele, they're more likely to come back. If we start viewing our gym facilities, our boutique studios, our PT areas as the bar Cheers, where everybody knows your name, they're far more likely to go back on a more consistent basis, as research and studies show. The more people who know the person's name, the more likely they are to come back to it. So we've got to change the idea that fitness has to be a certain thing. Maybe someone's fitness journey involves going outside and going for walks. Maybe someone's fitness journey does go to a CrossFit gym or goes to a physical therapist. Maybe someone's fitness journey involves dance parties, silent discos, puppies and Pilates, goat yoga. Whatever it is, we need to help them find the joy in movement again. That is what's going to keep them with us. It's not sets and reps. It's not 5 pounds in 5 weeks. It's feel better right now. It's have more confidence right now. It's stand a little taller. Be proud of yourself right now. Now we need to move on and talk a little bit about nutrition. Nutrition is another one of the pillars that we have isolated at the Mental Wellbeing Association as having profound impact on someone's mental wellness, and something that we as fitness professionals can absolutely highlight for our clientele so that they can understand the benefits of taking care of their self through food. Now, when it comes to eating well, there's a lot of speculation out there between what is good and what is not. And there are so many different fad diets that I tried to make a slide about it, and we would have been here all day. So instead, I prefer for us to look at something that goes across all of the different types of eating styles. And that's really starting to look at the gut-brain axis, this bio-directional communication system that links the gastrointestinal tract with the central nervous system. This means that the things that we are putting into our digestive system directly influences how our body reacts on a daily basis. We know by looking at this gut-brain axis that the majority of serotonin is actually synthesized in our gut. That means that joyful drug that makes us feel happy is starting with what we eat. And if we look at nutrition from a broader perspective and not so isolated into meal planning or diet planning, then we can see that there are some major food groups that really can benefit someone's gut-brain axis and that production of serotonin, as well as ways to eliminate some of your mental wellness symptoms and increase your overall happiness. The 4 types of food that show the most statistical prevalence in creating more happiness in the life are leafy greens, nuts and seeds, fermented foods, and berries. We have a lot of research at the John W. Brick Foundation and within our certification that shows you exactly how these foods can directly relate to someone's mental wellness. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, and Swiss chard are rich in folate, magnesium, and antioxidants. And all of those things support cognitive health and new neuron pathways in someone's brain. That's a fun word to say, new neuron pathways. There we go. I got it out. When it comes to nuts and seeds, things like walnuts, flax seeds, and chia seeds, they all have fatty acids and again, magnesium. And all of these things can really help promote the production of serotonin within the body. Fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, or kimchi, they're all really rich in probiotics and prebiotics, which can help with healthy gut microbiota. And then you've got berries. Berries like blueberries and strawberries and blackberries, they're all full of amazing antioxidants that can really help oxidate stress and inflammation. So we can see that it's not necessarily about a specific diet protocol. It's more about the quality of the food that you're ingesting and getting back to a space where we're eating whole foods. There's an amazing trial called the SMILES trial, which actually is this first randomized control trial that looks at dietary foods and improvement of the treatment of depression. And they did find that these foods, along with fatty fish, are the people who reported the most improvement in their depression symptoms. So really recommend checking out the SMILES trial if you have time. But right now you're probably saying, ugh, Jess, scope of practice. Yep, definitely. Let's talk about scope of practice. In no way, shape, or form am I advocating that you tell people this is what they have to eat. Just like when it comes to fitness, there's obviously a pleasure principle tied into food. And food is something that is innately emotional based on the culture they grew up in, the memories they might have, the tastes and textures that they prefer. So instead of giving them specific meal plans to follow that really step outside of our scope of practice, we're going to instead give you 4 tips that will help you incorporate spreading information about nutrition without prescribing information about nutrition. And that is to ask open-ended questions. What did you have to eat today? How did it make you feel? Have you eaten something lately that brought a lot of joy to your life? Are you eating anything that's currently in season or sharing that you personally are? You can encourage whole food-based nutrition. Perhaps you bring up local farmers markets where someone can get fresh fruits and veggies. You can offer simple meal planning ideas, especially if there's some things that you're already practicing, or you happen to notice that a certain grocery store chain has things on sale. You can obviously bring it up. And then you can collaborate with nutritional professionals in your area. But sharing what you're doing and how you're eating are great ways that you can slightly influence your clientele to try and enjoy new and different foods, especially foods that we know are going to directly impact their mental well-being. Encouraging them to try leafy greens more often, encouraging them to buy berries, especially when they're in season, encouraging them to snack on fruits and nuts, and if they can, tying fermented foods into their diets. Perhaps that's by making restaurant recommendations. You got to try the new kimchi at the Korean place that just opened up. Ways like that are great ways that you're influencing your clients to think about the choices that they're making and perhaps expand their palate to try something new that you know is highly influential to them. Of course, you'll want to share information about its impact on mental wellness as well, but all staying within your scope of practice of making sure they're not prescribing meal plans or telling people what they do and do not eat, but instead make guided recommendations that we know will obviously make them feel better. Now we need to go to our 3rd pillar, and that's all about mindfulness. Oftentimes, mindfulness is confused with meditation, but we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. First, we need to talk about the fact that we've been studying mindfulness for hundreds of years. We've just now put a title on it. We've now come to terms with this being the overarching umbrella that includes really being open and present to what's happening right now in your world. And we're starting to see more and more information coming out of contemporary psychology and mental health studies that are really showing the positive impact of mindfulness. Mindfulness being the umbrella term. So oftentimes people confuse mindfulness with meditation, or they'll use it interchangeably. But meditation is just a style of mindfulness. Mindfulness actually is dedicated being present to the present moment. It's non-judgmental, deliberate attention, and it involves being aware of your thoughts, your feelings, and your bodily sensations. So often, some of the guided meditations that we do are about removing yourself from the present moment and instead disassociating. Whereas mindfulness and the science behind mindfulness is really showing that it's much more intentional, of being very present to your thoughts, to your feelings, and your body, not necessarily putting yourself on a beach far away from you. But that does tie in. There's actually a lot of research about all different types of mindfulness that show that there's an improvement when someone is practicing mindfulness and their mental wellness and their mental health symptoms. But it doesn't start and stop with meditation alone. Perhaps you work with a type A client, and there is no way that you would ever ask them to sit with their eyes closed for more than 10 seconds. That's okay. There's a ton of other ways to practice mindfulness as you start to encourage them to explore that realm more. Things like journaling, breath practice, and being physically present during exercise. Noticing, how do your biceps feel during this exercise? How does your heart feel right now after this interval? Taking mindful moments to assess, how do your feet feel after this yoga pose? Can you wiggle your toes? How do your toes feel? Taking these moments and spreading them out through the fitness experience are ways that we're tying into mindfulness in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming or isolating. Mindfulness is also taught through body awareness. If my yoga teachers out there, you guys probably teach this all the time. I'm so proud of you, and I hope you tie it into more of your lessons. But we can all take a beat off of Pilates and yoga instructors' books by teaching more total body awareness in our classes. I want you to feel this movement here. What does it feel like? We can foster a distraction-free training zone. Take these, put them away, far away from you. There's no pings, there's no dings. The only thing that exists right now is me and you in this space. We can use breath work to help regulate intensity. After doing something that is quite intense, asking them to focus on their breath to bring the breath work down, or and vice versa, as we're warming up, incorporating a faster breath cycle to help their body warm up more, and then to turn in and focus on exactly how are they breathing. And we can, of course, incorporate mindful moments throughout our activities. How do you feel right now and in this moment? That's mindfulness. How do you feel right now and in this moment? Often people do not want to practice mindfulness or meditation because they're scared of what their mind is actually telling them. They're scared of their feelings and their emotions. And let's be honest, we don't often treat ourselves very well. We speak negatively about ourselves. Perhaps there's that gremlin in the back of your brain that's telling you, you can't do this or you're not good enough. Trust me, you are not alone. But research has shown over and over again that negative self-talk is one of the factors of increasing stress throughout the body. And it's not just about how we treat ourselves physically, but it's how we treat ourselves in our own minds, in our own hearts, and our own spirits. In fact, becoming aware of your own inner dialogue and then actively shifting it to more positive self-talk has been shown to increase your mental state. Just changing how you view yourself, how you speak to yourself in these quiet, mindful moments, turning the negative autopilot off and actually speaking to yourself with love and caringness, giving yourself self-compassion, space and grace that you would give everyone else. In fact, there's an amazing research study around affirmations, specifically the ones that say, I am. I am fill in the blank. What do you need to hear today? I am patient. I am worthy. I am kind. I'm loving. I'm strong. I'm fast. Fill in the blank. What do you need to hear today? And then I want you to tie into that affirmation. I want you to repeat it to yourself over and over and over again. We see through MRI scans and CAT scans, or sorry, not MRI, I apologize, brain CAT scans, that when people use positive affirmations over and over and over and over again, it strengthens that neural pathway, which means it moves beyond being words and moves into being a belief, which is pretty cool and a cornerstone for emotional resiliency. So being able to tie in I am into your client's work while they're exercising is an incredible way that you can actually increase their confidence levels. Increase their confidence levels in a way that is genuine and authentic and something that they can carry with them moving forward. Because if they don't believe in themselves, they're never going to accomplish their goals. You cannot believe it for them. You can believe in them, but you cannot believe it for them. And they really have to believe in themselves and believe what they can accomplish in order to increase their confidence levels. But let's get one thing straight. Confidence is not about being the loudest in the room. It's not about being obnoxiously loud about all of the amazing things you are and you can do. That is ego. That is not confidence. They are completely different. Confidence instead is being fully grounded and knowing that your inner voice is the loudest. Your way that you talk to yourself, your inner positive self-talk is leading the charge. And you will be much less fearful of being present and quiet if you know that you are being kind to yourself. We've got to wrap up our conversation now to talk about social connection. Social connection is an amazing thing we do at the fitness industry already. And again, we're just putting terms to it. We're just now finding the right verbiage to say and show what we do. And what we do really is about social connection. As many of you know, in 2023, the Surgeon General reported that the loneliness epidemic is the epidemic of our lifetime, not to be confused with isolation. Loneliness is the feeling of being alone or disconnected when you're surrounded by people, which is amazing because we live in a world where we're constantly connected through the pings and the dings of the smartphone, of social media, of instant communication. However, now more than ever, millions of people are dealing with the epidemic of feeling lonely. And it's not a fleeting feeling. It's a growing public health concern. It's a crisis. And we, as a fitness industry, we're prone already to help people combat this. In fact, a study from Cigna showed that 60% of Americans reported feeling lonely or a sharp increase in feeling sadness over the last previous years. It's pretty impactful, especially since we want everybody to be coming to our Cheers bar, to our gym. Studies have actually shown that people who move and work out together are more likely to stay with fitness for a longer period of time. Group fitness is an insanely powerful way to get people to keep coming back to the gym because of the social connection when it's done correctly. Again, remember at the beginning of the workshop, I shared with you that people are more likely to go back where people know their name. They're more likely to go to restaurants, to bars, to coffee shops, to shopping districts, to gyms if people there know their name. People are more likely to go to physical fitness experiences where people know their names. So not just standing at the front of the room and with your mic on ready to teach, but instead being at the door, meeting and greeting each and every person and doing your best to know their name, teaching your front desk staff that they need to know and use names. Names are powerful. There are ways that people feel more socially connected in group settings. There are some additional things that we really can do in order to increase the social connection factor in the fitness industry. And that's to really foster inclusivity. Everyone is welcome here. It does not matter your experience. It doesn't matter your physical appearance. It doesn't matter your emotional health. Everyone is welcome here. We want to encourage accountability partnerships of introducing people who are like-minded, who have like lifestyles together. Perhaps a new mom of twins has just shown up to your body pump class, and you happen to know that this woman in the front row also is a mom of twins. You are going to connect them together. Hey, I want you guys to meet. You both have twins. Things like that, where these little minute lifestyle connectivities are great ways that you are going to foster social connection and help them find friends in your facility. You can obviously host community events if you work one-on-one personal training with clients, or you're a physical therapist and you work one-on-one with clients. Have events where you invite all of them to come together. And you can absolutely use partner drills in order to facilitate more social connection if you're teaching group fitness or you're teaching small group boot camps. But one little asterisk by that, right? One little caveat we have to talk about when it comes to partner drills. Remember, we want people to feel joyful, to feel successful, to quiet the gremlin in the brain and have more positive self-talk so that they can be mindful in the moment instead of pushing away from it. So when we put together partner drills, we need to make sure that one person's success is not indicative of somebody else's success. So if we want to put people together, we need to ensure that the exercise can be done as a solo individual. They just happen to be next to a partner. A great example is if we put these two guys together to do squat jumps with a high five at the top. Is that going to work well? Probably not, because the taller guy is not going to want to jump to his full potential, and the shorter guy is not going to be able to jump to reach the taller guy's height, even if he was at his full potential or not. We even said when we do partner drills like that, where one person's success is indicative of another person's success, we set someone up for failure, where someone's going to feel like the problem, someone is going to feel like they failed. Instead, the movement needs to pass back and forth, or the movement needs to be just done together. The movement can be done incrementally. You do the odd reps, you do the even reps. We pass it back and forth. One person does an activity, comes back, and then the next person does the activity and come back. It can still be done in a partner way that's very, very social without someone's success relying upon someone else's success. We need to remember while we're teaching classes that yes, we're there to guide them through this exercise journey. But this might be the only time in their day that they get to speak to other humans about anything and everything that's not Bluey, right? Oftentimes when I was a manager at a gym facility, my cycle instructors would always complain about those ladies that sat in the back and just talked the whole time. They didn't pay attention to my amazing playlist. They didn't pay attention to my amazing ride that I put together. They just sat back there and talked the whole time. That was because they were all moms of toddlers. And that was the only time during the day they got to speak to an adult and not talk about chicken nuggets or PJ Masks. We come to fitness for the social aspect of it. Sure, did they get the best workout they could have ever done? No, but did they have a good time? Did they make further social bonds? Did they leave happier, more seen? Yeah, absolutely. And so we have to stop dictating so much of like telling our clients to be quiet, giving them the dirty look when they're talking in class. It's social, it's fun, and it's a way that we as fitness professionals can directly impact someone's mental wellness. So again, to wrap it up, guys, as we start to end our time together of really learning how to embrace the mental well-being renaissance, it comes down to joy. How can we as fitness professionals offer someone the buffet of movement styles and help them find the dish that they like most? Because they are more likely to come back to it if there is joy involved, if they love what they're doing. And their joy may not be your joy. And it's a reason that you need to work in collaboration with other fitness professionals around you so that your joy stays yours. And if someone comes in and their joy doesn't quite align with you, you've got the next person that you can refer them to. At the Mental Wellbeing Association, we firmly believe that these 4 pillars are how we can make the biggest impact moving forward, helping people find more ways to move, helping people nourish their bodies, being mindful to the present moment, and connecting with other people in their life. We fully believe that our certification, which is a 20-hour certification accredited by ACE, AFA, NASM, ISSA, CanFit Pro, ACSM, all the alphabet soup. we really do believe that this is the next step forward in all fitness professionals' career. And right now we are discounting because it is month of May is really focused on maternal health awareness, or sorry, well, maternal health awareness and mental health awareness. It's both. But you can get certified now for 40% off. You can find us at the Mental Association, Mental Wellbeing Association.org. You can tell I've talked for the whole time and I'm starting to lose my connectivity from brain to mouth. We really hope that you will join us in being the change that the industry needs, helping us step forward in really impactful ways, because the journey to helping others improve their own mental well-being starts with you and starts here with us, because we know that the fitness industry, people like you, are here to make this world better. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. We at the Mental Wellbeing Association, we can absolutely come in and speak more to your team about all of the topics that we did today, as well as this presentation again. I'm Jessica H. Maurer. You can find me at jessica@inspire360.com. And as I mentioned to you before, our certification is currently on sale, and you can find that at mentalwellbeingassociation.org. That sale does end at the end of the month. So when we turn from May 31st to June 1st, you will lose that opportunity. So I hope to see you there. All right, Marianne, thank you so much for having me. Do we have any questions pop in?
Awesome. So if anybody has any questions for Jessica, she's here now. Go ahead and type them into the chat or the Q&A panel. Either way is fine. But while we're waiting, I just want to thank you so much, Jess, for sharing your knowledge with us today. I think, I took a couple of pages of notes here. I thought that was
Oh,
attendees will receive with an evaluation link for today's webinar, and it includes a spot to indicate which CEC you'd like to receive. Really, we just want to get your feedback too. So whether you need a CEC or not, please fill out that evaluation form. We're getting a lot of thank yous, wonderful presentation, super helpful. Such a great presentation. Yeah, a lot of kudos. I'm seeing hearts going up. So this is
great.
awesome. I'm seeing joy here.
Good,
Um,
that's what we hope. It spread joy. And one other thing that I did forget to mention throughout the presentation that I would love to share with you now is that in addition to talking about movement and nutrition, mindfulness and social connection, we also have 2 additional sections within our certification. Section number 1 talks about creating safe spaces. So using our words to really benefit the fitness industry, starting to retire some of the language that we've used in the past that isn't very inclusive. And we also talk about looking for red flags, things that might come up with your clientele that you're working with that you're like, this surpasses mental wellness. And we're starting to head into mental health issues. Therefore, what are your next steps as a fitness professional when you start to recognize these things in your clients? And we also have another section that's on basic coaching skills. So if you feel like you want to use all this information, you want to really improve how you're impacting your clients, we not only give you the knowledge, but we therefore also give you the tips and the tools to take your next steps forward.
Awesome. And I love that. I love that about your presentation, that you had all these great tips that people can absolutely go back into their facilities and implement
Start
and
today.
get those going. And just to remind everybody, this was recorded. So if you want to do a lunch and learn at your facility, just let me know. I'll send you the link for the recording. Just want to let everybody know that our next webinar is on June 4th, and it's entitled Underwater Hypoxic Blackout, Awareness and Prevention of the Silent Killer. And I have to tell you, I didn't know anything about this until I met Britt Jackson, who is the executive director of the Underwater Hypoxic Blackout Foundation. There's a lot of push out there in the fitness world now for this whole underwater exercise thing. And that is about as dangerous as it comes. And so, and a lot of times a lifeguard sitting above the water won't be able to recognize somebody who is doing these risky moves of staying underwater, or they're in a spot where they have blacked out. And then it's really only seconds that you have. So definitely check out this next webinar. Again, it's on June 4th. It's on the MFA website. You can register. We also have our last Medical Fitness Summit coming up. So if you're in the Midwest area, definitely join us at the Owensboro Health Park in Owensboro, Kentucky. It is an MFA certified facility. I can't wait to see it. I haven't seen it yet. That'll be June 19 and 20. Lots of great speakers, lots of great networking, great roundtables. Bring your challenges, bring your best practices, and we'll all share them. So definitely check out the events calendar. For more information about the summit, we've got our annual conference coming up. That'll be in San Diego this year, November 4th or 6th. And certainly all of our upcoming webinars. Again, lots of kudos, Jessica, for your presentation. And I will also include information. I'll include Jessica's email. So if you have questions, because a lot of times we get out of these things and it's like, oh, I should ask that question. So we'll include your information, and we'll include information about the certification. And there's lots of great resources on the Mental Wellbeing Association website too. So we'll include all that information in our follow-up email. And Andrew said this is very necessary, important conversation. And yes, it is. Absolutely.
It really is. And when we start to have these conversations with fitness professionals, we understand that there can be a point where you feel maybe a little uncomfortable because some of the things we talked about, maybe your practices that you're doing. And growth is hard and evolution is hard. And we're just here to say that we're here to help you every step of the way. And we're here to make sure that you can build a career of longevity and sustainability and being able to support everyone that comes to you in your facility.
Absolutely. You know, and I have to say, when you're talking about social connection, I take a TRX class and we had a substitute teacher. And so before she started class, she goes, so who are you guys?
Yep.
We all introduced ourselves and we'd never done that before. And then the next week we went into class and it was like, hey, Chris, hey, Roger, hey, Marianne. It's like, now we're a group.
Now names are important. Naming things are drastically important. If you read any fantasy, you'll know that all fantasy authors say, like, once you name something, it becomes magical. And that is exactly what we are as humans. We're all just little pieces of magic and we have our own names. And so the more that we can incorporate that into our fitness setting, more likely people are going to come and stay with us. Awesome.
Great. Well, okay. I will let you guys all get back to it and bring the joy to your people this afternoon and every day.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thanks, Jess.